Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the School Safety and Climate Committee of the Board of Education. I'm Tanya Ortiz-Franklin, your proud chair, and excited to kick off our last committee meeting of the year. Thanks for your flexibility, everyone. We had to push this back from a couple weeks ago. I had some personal family health concerns, and now we have a lot of our committee members who have had graduations or various meetings, and so we are a little leaner today, but we are still mighty. So I want to thank the folks who were able to join today, and maybe we'll just do quick intros of who's here, because we've got at least one fill-in, but an amazing fill-in. So I'm Tanya. I'll turn it to my other board member colleague, and then we'll just go down the line real fast.
Charlotte Handy Newbill, board member for Board District 1.
Welcome.
Andres Che, Chief of School Operations.
Martha Marquez, Administrator with Student Mental Health and Wellness Services.
Thank you all for being here. And our community partners are all off, but some were communicating via email on one of our exciting agenda items, which will close us out and will also open us up. We are going to spend some time today looking at recommendations and follow-ups from last year, 23-24, and then we'll close today looking at some 24-25 wrong years. 24-25 recommendations from last year, and then the ones going forward for next year. It'll all make sense when we get into it. And then, of course, we're going to hear from two schools today, which I'm really excited to hear from middle schools, which is where a lot of the school climate and culture opportunities arise, I will say. This committee meets to look at data, to recommend policies, and to offer some suggestions to improve practice across the district. We've looked at pedestrian safety and safe passages. We've looked at drug prevention and taken a deep dive into violent incidents on and around campus, as well as looked at school experience survey data around feelings of safetyness on and around campus. And that's actually how we chose our schools that we're going to hear from today, is some of that data. So we're going to start with some recommendations and follow-ups from last year. I'm going to invite the district operations team to come down and get us going. At the end of last year, we shared with the team some recs after meeting for several sessions, and the team has made a lot of progress, so we wanted to make some space to share where we can find that progress, and just give an update on where we are from last year, and then also a little bit of the follow-ups for this year so far. And then we'll turn into our two school presentations. So I will turn it over to Andres.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to turn the mic on.
It always turns on right when you do the rapping with the knuckle. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Board Member Ortiz-Franklin, for the introduction. Again, Andres Che, Chief of School Operations. And as the board member referenced, I'll basically be covering two batches, if you will, of recommendations. One series of recommendations came from the series of meetings that this same committee had in the 23-24 school year, and I'll provide updates as to where we are with each of those. And then the second batch of recommendations are those that have come forward through the course of our 5 meetings, including today, this year. And so again, I'll provide that status update on where we're at, potential next steps, and so on. Okay, again, just to level set, and again, I think for the folks that are joining us, this is probably not new information. This is the charge of the School Safety and Climate Committee. We had the School Culture, Climate, and Safety Task Force yesterday, so we have a number of bodies that revolve around safety. As you can see, this committee has met 5 times this year, and we've looked at a number of topics: safety assessments, community strategies, and in fact, that goes right into what I'll be covering: student wellness and school climate improvements. And again, I'm really just going to walk us through sort of one by one with each recommendation. I'll try not to belabor each one. We can all read them. But again, I want to hit on a few key points. One of them is really, and this is a critical one, this is a foundational piece, is clarifying and expanding the definition of community-based safety. When we went out last year and we did the work around the resolution that had to do with community-based safety, and we engaged with stakeholders, we heard a number of definitions of what it means, right? Everything from, are these CBOs, community-based organizations, that are taking on a responsibility for safety? Is the community in question the actual school community, and so on? And so part of our work, again, was making sure that we had a defined definition, if you will, of community-based safety. And as you can see, in terms of what it includes peace building, trauma prevention, mentoring, yes, case management, family support, summer programming as appropriate and as necessary, peer mediation, and of course, crisis response. And again, as part of that work and ensuring that we're all on the same page, we work closely with our community-based representatives and our vendors who provide supports in this area to make sure we're all on the same page. One of the most relevant pieces that has come out of this work is ensuring that our community is aware of the data that already exists around safety, right? What are the metrics that we can look at? Everything from suspension rates for our schools to, in some cases, we have given sunshine to ISTAR data as appropriate as part of these committee meetings. So again, as referenced in the slide, we have had a number of presentations, both at this subcommittee and also at the board writ large, when it comes to safety. In fact, I anticipate that we're going to have another presentation probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks at the board with a comprehensive safety summary for the school year that's about to conclude. And of course, as always, we always want to highlight that open data still provides our folks on-demand data, particularly around safety. So one of the other charges was around the community-based safety pilot, CBSP. This primarily lived or lives under BSAP for the most part in terms of the funding element. But again, it's ensuring that if it is a pilot in name, that we are actually assessing the work, ensuring that there is quality and support to schools being provided, and we then pivot accordingly. So we, as DSO, Division of School Operations, conduct a number of ongoing assessments of program impact. We look at a number of factors. We do everything from the sort of human side of things, meaning surveys of administrators, talking to folks about what they see, talking to our vendors as far as their experience as the service providers. We also look at more sort of black and white data in terms of ISTAR. We look at safe passage incidents at schools, calls for service from school police, because there's a supposition that if you have the community-based safety program in place, one would anticipate seeing, in many cases, fewer calls for service for safe passage incidents because the vendor is able to intervene. This is an area of success that I really want to highlight. As I mentioned earlier, the funding for CBSP lives under BSAP. There's a budget of about 14 some odd mil that's called out as part of the BSAP plan for these programs. Last year, superintendent gave us the authority to take unspent school police dollars from the 23-24 school year and use those to provide safe passage for non-BSAP Group 1 and Group 2 schools. I'm happy to report that we've been able to do exactly that this school year. We've provided service to about a dozen different schools. In looking at that funding, which does indeed roll over, we have at least enough funding in place to carry that out for at least one more year. Along the same lines, we've also brought back to life our MOU with GRID. GRID is through the City of LA. It's a critical provider. Now it's become sort of our standard playbook. When we have incidents of violence in the community that we believe may have a nexus to gang activity, we immediately call GRID and they send the agency that is most relevant to that community to work with the school and to work with the stakeholders. Similarly, we're in the process of finalizing an MOU with the Office of Violence Prevention that's out of the county that will help us with our schools that are in unincorporated areas or outside of City of LA. One example that comes to mind, of course, is Washington Prep. OVP will be able to help us out in that area. This, again, is really about the positions that already exist that speak to the climate and the safety on our campus. Everything from school climate advocates to systems of support advisors. And for the most part, what you'll see in the right column is about training and support. You're not necessarily going to see a call out for an augmentation of positions, but it's more about the ongoing trainings. As recently as today, we had our monthly training for school climate advocates. We are constantly working with our SCAs. We also provide training for our campus aides. Our SOSAs are an integral part of this work. I don't want to use too many acronyms. The systems of support advisors, those are our key players in terms of the positive behavior and intervention support work. They work under Ms. Laura Zeff, who I think many of us know and admire, and they go out to our schools and they work with our schools in implementation of PBIS. So now I want to call out that I'm going to make the pivot from 23-24 recommendations to the ones that were raised during the series of meetings that we had this year. So that would be the 4 prior meetings to today, although you'll see some overlap, certainly. And again, in no particular order of importance, these are the ones that were raised. One that came up as one of our committee meetings was around graffiti. We all know that when you drive up to a school, there's a lot to be said for curb appeal, even in the sense of safety, right? correctly or incorrectly may draw conclusions about the environment on a campus based on how that campus looks. So we want to make sure that our campuses, when there is graffiti, are serviced as quickly as possible. I can speak from personal experience at FSD, that's our facility service division. When they get the call out that there's been graffiti at a school, they respond within a day or two max. Looking at our programs in terms of expanding translation of key district platforms and programs, this I want to call out is very much in progress. Our communications team and IT are looking at how we further expand the number of languages that we have our communications available in. As you can imagine, certainly we have it in Spanish. We have a few other key languages, Korean, Armenian, where we do have resources already, but acknowledging that in a district as diverse as LAUSD, we want to make sure we have even more opportunities. Transportation, this is a very tricky one because if you look at the ask on the left, the way that I'm interpreting it is almost intermittent transportation services. That is very, very hard to manage. We do have, as a district, Transportation for All, TFA. Again, we love our acronyms. We're actually in the window right now for any of us that are district parents. The window to opt in for transportation goes through all the way through next week, through next Friday. If you go through Parent Portal, I'll put in a quick plug here. If you go into Parent Portal, when you go to the landing page for your children, you'll see the banner on top that says, click here for TFA, for Transportation for All. You can request transportation so that we can do the routing over the summer. That said, again, the possibility of doing my student needs transportation on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's very difficult to pull that off. We'd have to look at the routes that exist in order to do that. Okay. Again, in terms of peer counseling, here is an area where I would defer to our colleagues in the Division of Instruction. We do have a peer counseling program. We have it at a number of schools. It is in year 2 of implementation, but again, they would be best positioned to provide us with more information. As you can see, and we have this deck available for folks, we do have a link to the schools that are participating in My Crew. We also have links available for GRID in terms of the GRID map, where they service. And again, I really want to give kudos to the folks behind GRID because even when we've had incidents in areas where maybe they don't have service providers, they have bent over backwards to work with us and see who they can get to help our schools. There's also a referral process for GRID. As you may know, there's sort of an intervention and a postvention process when it comes to GRID, right? There's a population primarily at middle school where they look at kiddos where maybe they're not necessarily involved in gang activity yet per se, but there may be indicators that they are on that path. So it's about, again, intervening and doing something to get them back on the right path, if you will. And there's also, again, for lack of a better term, a postvention process. When you already know that a student may be affiliated, how do we get them back on track academically and socially? And again, the list of schools that have gotten service through GRID is also available. Another piece is, again, about sharing promotional materials or resources for some services that live under the district, for example, LAZAR, but of course, other services that live under the city and the county, like 311, LA Works. I do want to give a shout out to my colleague Martha Alvarez in the Office of Government Relations. As we know, we have a number of education compacts with cities within LAUSD. So we now have partnerships where when cities do want us to help them in promoting the resources that they have available, it's a much more streamlined process. I can tell you as a principal, it used to be kind of a hard road for me to put anything on my counter. It was almost like you were, asking me for the keys to the school. Now, because we have these compacts, I know as a principal or as a former principal that I can share these resources without having any concerns. In fact, on my way in, City of LA sent us some resources for some job opportunities for our kiddos over the summer. So we'll be distributing those. The telehealth service phone number with students and families, again, that is a resource that is available. I know that Martha Marquez is here if you have any questions about that. And in terms of connecting Carlos and the cadre team with Human Services Division, I know that some of that work has happened with my team. We've had one meeting already with the cadre team, and in fact, we've planned a series of ongoing meetings, but I know, of course, also that the BD7 team is working directly with cadre. And again, in fortuitous timing, the board informative, there was no gerrymandering of this, I promise. There was a board informative published just today with an update around PBIS and TFI for our board members. One thing that I want to call out that was not in that BI, but will be in the guidance for next year. Some of you who may be old timers, such as myself, may remember a time where when we did the ROI, the rubric of implementation, the one that preceded the TFI, there was actually a validation process where a team would go out to a school and actually walk with, it was almost like a WASC. You'd walk with a site administrator, you'd walk with a school team, you'd look at the practices that were in place to give that additional validation. Starting this August, we're bringing that process back. So again, it's not necessarily meant to be an additional, I don't want to look at it as like an additional compliance piece with our schools, but it's meant to be supportive so that you have that extra set of eyes to look at your processes. And I think with that, that's a good place for me to stop with the recommendations, because I know now, as Board Member Ortiz-Franklin referenced, we are going to pivot to our two amazing middle schools that are going to present. But let me stop here in case there may be any questions.
My thoughts exactly. I do want to thank you all for the board informative that we just got. I thought we got it last night, actually. So thank you for being responsive there. And this is what we wanted to do this afternoon, was to say the team is taking our recommendations and follow up and acting on them. It's not like we have conversations here and it goes into a dustbin that no one ever looks at. So appreciate you and your team for doing the work that is behind all of these slides here. But I'll pause to see if any of my committee members have any clarifying questions for you or additional thoughts before we jump into our schools. Ms. Hendy-Newbill or Ms. Marquez? All right, flying colors, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
And I'll just emphasize for the community to please use those 311 and LA Works apps. They are really responsive, and it helps the school district when those calls for service are in, so that we can emphasize those with our city council and county partners to help us clean up the neighborhoods around our school campuses. So with that, we are really excited to turn to our two middle schools who we reached out to with some great student data, particularly around feeling safe on campus. Both of these middle schools have improved in the student perception of safety, and to some degree, parent and staff perceptions of safety on and around campus as well. We'll let the schools share a little bit of their highlights about how that happened, but the other piece of data we added to these two pieces was the staffing. Who do they have around the school climate advocates, the system of support advisors, the RJ teacher advisors, right? How do we make these things go hand in hand, the staff to be able to achieve those sort of outcomes? And so I believe we're gonna start with Orchard. They are online, so we'll invite the team up. Dr. Meza to please join us and share with us a little bit about your school, how it's been so successful and seeing these outcomes here, and then we'll pause for the team to ask Orchard a couple of questions before we turn to Pacoima. And just want to celebrate your growth and welcome your genius so that we can spread it across the district. So we'll turn it to Orchard. Thanks so much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nova Messup. This is actually my very first year at Orchard. I spent 27 years or so in high schools, most recently at Contreras Learning Complex, School of Social Justice up the street from Beaudry. So this is new to me, middle school, but it's been a great experience. Okay, we can just go to the next slide. Okay, so we're part of the small school movement from a few years ago. We opened in 2010. We have about 400 students. We are on a shared campus. There are two other schools. One is an independent charter school. We each occupy one floor. So it's a sort of 3-floor building. We're on the top floor, which is really nice. Definitely a dedicated group here of certificated and classified. Many of my staff grew up in the area. Some still live in the area. My assistant principal lives about 2 blocks away, walking distance to school. And we have just a great student support systems that have been in place for the last few years. Next slide. Okay, so definitely that consistent adult presence here. We do have 3 supervision aid that we purchase just from our school, and we do share a campus aid with our neighboring LAUSD school, a full-time campus aid. We have a school climate advocate. She's actually, the district supports us with half of a climate advocate. We purchased the other half because it's so important to us. We do also employ a full-time PSW, which is unique for such a small school. And we have a full-time student and family resource navigator who is amazing, really connects us with our family, our community. And we have a dean and a restorative justice teacher, a combined position. So this really allows us to have that quick response time for student needs. We're regularly monitoring common areas. It's really great to just have one floor. Our restrooms are monitored constantly. We prioritize building those relationships with the students and staff. A small school, we really know our students, we know their names. It's just a great feeling. In critical times, everyone pitches in. Our teaching staff, our clerical staff, our custodial staff. It's great. And because of that, we have really proactive intervention capabilities here. We know our middle school, college and career / EL designee. When she sees some students struggling, we hold an SSPT immediately. It would just constantly be able to offer things to our students because we have those people here in place. So yeah, we're a fully staffed campus, and we have no new certificated staff members except for the principal and the assistant principal this year. Okay, next slide. Okay, so just a little bit more about our stuff and how our student safety kind of supports our school climate. So we definitely have a proactive discipline approach. We do monthly small group PBIS assemblies. We do PBIS incentives. You'll see some pictures. We do lots of incentives and awards. Weekly, we do our Gator Buck raffles when we see students doing something good in the classroom or in the hallway. They get Gator Bucks. We do raffles. We do positive behavioral interventions. We use restorative practices. Our RJ teacher holds conflict resolutions and circles with students. We have great community partnerships. We're trying to build this up a little bit. We just had a career day recently and invited some, I know our board member was here presenting to the students, and that kind of helps us build more relationships. And we're constantly, like I said before, using that SSPT process to get to know our students and help them where we need. And we do lots of academic recognitions. We do something called On the Right Track every 5 weeks with our report cards. If you're getting a C or better, you're recognized. And we do ice cream days for them on Fridays. We have award assemblies, which seems like a lot of them. We actually have one tonight for our 8th graders. And we do Student of the Month, where they actually come and have lunch with me once a month. I have lunch with a group of about 6 students who are Students of the Month. And I think our instructional foci really foster student voice as well. We are an AVID school. We're moving toward school-wide AVID approaches, collaborative strategies, and small group instruction. Okay, and do I have one more slide? I think that's the last slide. That's it. Yes. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much, and thanks for keeping it succinct. We often ask presenters to do 3 to 5 slides, but we don't often get that back. So there's a lot you can pack into there. And I hadn't realized that only you and the AP were new. So welcome. It looks like we have some more friends joining us. We'll say hello. Oh, that's for our next presentation. Who's popping on? Okay. Thank you so much for sharing some of the great things that are happening at your school. 400 students sounds like a small school, but that's probably really common if you think about our small high schools, the size of an elementary school. And so to have a full-time PSW, the 3 supervision aides, a campus aide, sounds like partial campus aide kind of spread across the campuses, the school climate advocate, the navigator. That's sort of what we would consider like a full staffing for 400 students. That's what we had asked HR, what are they looking for? Did they get it all? And I know you've only been at the school for a short time, but you've been in the district for a while. So I'll ask one question and then see if my colleagues have questions. What's the right timeline for hiring staff? If you wanted to start August fully staffed, by when do you fly the positions, interview, hire, kind of lock folks in so that you're ready to go in August?
Oh my goodness! As early in the year as possible. My ELD teacher at the beginning of the year said, "This is it. This is my last year." And so I said, "Okay." And I think from that day, I started putting feelers out. Who I needed, because ELD is so hard to staff, right? So for certificated, I think as early as possible, right? We're constantly like, who's going to leave, who might leave, who's might promote. My special ed teacher is actually moving into a dean position. And so I've already, secured someone as fast as I could when I learned. So I think for certificated, it's like immediate. it. It's a little more difficult with the classified staff, right? Our supervision aides, our TAs. And I did forget to mention our TAs. We do have quite a few part-time TAs, and I think that really helps. They also pitch in. And so I know a couple of them will be graduating. So we are currently looking for, but I would say, gosh, no later than February, really putting those feelers out there and getting the notifications out to HR. I would say early as possible.
Like a whole semester in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say I always work in the summer. I rarely take the summer off because I'm always so nervous about not being fully staffed, right? That one person says, oh, I need to leave, something's happening, I need to hire someone. So I think it's extremely important.
It sounds like it's making a big difference on your campus too. And we didn't see this earlier, so I'll just highlight the slide that's up here is the data that we were looking at to select your school to present. And just want to give you kudos on a 4% growth in students feeling safe on campus and staff, a 5% growth of staff feeling safe on campus. And so the two going hand in hand, just really want to appreciate that. I'll pause and see if my colleagues have questions for Orchard. And I should say, Board Member Griego is on this committee, and she did tell us how awesome it was when she got to visit recently.
Yeah.
Her son is graduating, so she's not here today, but she has great things to say about your school. So any questions from my colleagues? Sure, Andres?
Hello, Principal Mesa. Thank you so much for joining us. Just one quick question for me. How often do you bring sort of your safety team together to meet, to talk about what's going on campus, look at your strategies for responding, and so on?
Great question. So for like our certificated staff, our out of classroom staff, we meet weekly for different reasons, but we talk about safety at least 10 minutes, if not, sometimes most of the meetings. So we meet weekly. My assistant principal also meets with our supervision staff about monthly, I would say, monthly, to make sure that they, just we're at the right spots, if there are any hot spots that we need to change anything. So she meets with them about monthly.
And the supervision staff that you have currently, those are all full-time positions, or are they part-time, or?
Let's see. So we have they're all 3 or 6 hour positions, and then we have a shared 8-hour campus aide. So so she works for us 4 hours essentially, but she works for the site 8 hours.
And do they have like a map to, Andres, do they have a map of where they go as far as area supervision? How do they distinguish their area of supervision?
Yes. The assistant principal does, at the beginning of the year, she did a supervision area, mapped out where they should be at the different times, before school, during school, after school. At different times, we do have to make some changes, though. One of the things we actually, some of our teacher assistants actually helping us at lunch, because it's sort of a larger area. So we said, we need to add a little bit more supervision. So we'll make changes throughout, but she does, she'll map it out for them and send a revised, this is where our supervision staff should be during the day.
And for your restroom supervision, what plan do you use for restroom supervision?
The restrooms are not open unless somebody is there, unless somebody is in front. We actually put one supervision aide in front of the restroom at all times. We don't leave them open the first 10 minutes of class and the last 10 minutes of class, or as we're moving students to class, someone is there during the passing period. Then we shut them, make sure students are in class. Sometimes when maybe 2 aides will call out sick and everyone gets sick at the same time, I've been known to monitor the restrooms myself during a period. My assistant principal, my office technician, those restrooms are not open without somebody there. And luckily, because we're a small school, on our main floor, we just have the one restroom. So it's a lot easier for us. Any shared restroom, like during lunch, both restrooms are monitored constantly. That's the benefit of the small school, right? We can really monitor those restrooms.
Yes, that is definitely a plus. And so the female and male, or one restroom is right next to each other. Is one person supervising both? Is that how that works?
Yes. During passing period, we will have 2 people, one at the boys' restroom and then a female at the girls', just so it's a little more contained. A little more, eyes on for when more people are in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we hardly have any graffiti. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. From my previous school to this school, I don't think I've seen any major graffiti outbreaks this year. So that has been a really a big difference for me here.
That's great, kudos, and that's not something we capture in the school experience survey, but we could probably find some of the data on that. Maybe my last question before we switch to our next school, and thank you so much for coming. It's not often that we have a school with three schools on the same campus. Can you share a little bit about how your relationship is like with the other schools? I think both for the staff and students. Is there any interpersonal conflict, or how do you all manage the relationship between the three schools?
Well, I came from a four-school campus. I was at Contreras for many years, and so it's like my specialty. And I miss it. I really loved all my colleagues at Contreras. When I did come here, I kind of had heard that the schools didn't collaborate very much, but I have found working with my co-LUSD principal. I mean, we talk as much as we can. We do math walks together. We've just recently started doing instructional walks together. It's been great, a great experience. The students do not really cross over very much. In the morning, my students go to one part of the campus, their students go to another. We are actually considering next year doing a shared lunch to kind of make, have the students kind of mingle a little bit more. So I can keep you updated on that. We're not quite sure how that's going to work. It's been pretty separate. But in terms of like faculty working together, I think previous to this year, they really hadn't. But that Wanda and I sort of had the goal that this year we wanted to do a lot more. So we're starting with math. The math teachers, we're hoping that our sixth grade math teachers actually have a common conference period next year. So, I mean, I love working. I mean, like I said, I worked at Contreras for 18 years. So I love the benefits of the shared sites because you could really learn from one another. So I'm really hoping to just keep strengthening that relationship. But I love it personally.
And it shines through. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Kudos on your growth in data, and we're so glad to hear about the great things happening there. Maybe stick around in case there are questions later, if you don't mind. And also, you can give some kudos to Pacoima Middle School, our next presentation, who we selected. Yes, let's give a round of applause to Orchard. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will transition to Principal Garcha. Would love to hear a little bit about your school and how staffing and school climate have gone hand in hand for you all.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Simar Garcha, proud principal of Pacoima Middle School, and with me I have my dean, Mr. Ardando, and our magnet coordinator, Ms. Dawn Green. So we are in the heart of San Fernando Valley, and you all know where board member Kelly Gone's office is. We're next to her office. About 865 students. We have two great magnet, film, media, and performing arts magnet, and math, computer science magnet on our campus. About 70 certificated staff members and 46 classified staff members. And yay, we were fully staffed this year. And that makes all the difference. And that's why I said a fully staffed school is a joyous place. So we are happy here. Can we go to the next slide? So I agree 100% with Dr. Meza. I can repeat every single thing that she shared with you guys. We do the same. So for the last 2-3 years, we have been fully staffed. And not only that, but having PSW full-time, having a climate coach, school nurse made a huge, huge difference, because with that money now I can add additional other employees on my campus. I can buy counselors, so we can provide a safe learning environment to our students. So, we have moved on from just having safe campus. Now we want kids to enjoy our campus. When they come here, they want to be here. And we are a WASC accredited school, and it could not have happened if we were not fully staffed. Like, we have full team that work all the time and coming up with creative ideas like how we can make it a better school. So one of our SLO is for pride is professional presenters, being a film, media, and performing arts magnet. We pay close attention to that. So kids present in front of hundreds of students. They enjoy that limelight. We have kids are newcomers and special needs student presenting to board member Kelly Gomez. When she asked for it, we had like 20 kids who wanted to participate. If superintendent comes to our campus, my cadets are ready to talk to them and talk to him. No problem, right? And we have students going to Washington, D.C. or Vancouver for America Sings Festival every year. Students being called upon, my cadets, by local political leaders to participate in their oath ceremony. So the kids are finding their voice at Pacoima Middle School. So it comes with the safety that we provide on campus, that they could be kids they can enjoy. And this all happens because we have all these great people and we are fully staffed who are helping us to create that environment. Would you like to add something, Ms.
I-
Green?
Okay. I don't know. I know you have a
Can
slide
we go
about
to the
the
next slide?
magnets.
Yeah.
We do have 2 magnets on the campus, and I have been the magnet coordinator for both of them for about 13 years now.
Mm.
And I have been here when we haven't been as fully staffed, and I know that I am doing a much better job now of connecting with my parents on a daily basis, and from the application process where they apply to our schools and calling them and being able to be responsive. I know our kids and our parents perceive the safety and the support more now because they can see me and they can hear me. I'm out there in the morning greeting people and saying hello to them. I have the time to plan these activities that you see all these pictures of. Those take time to plan and think about and coordinate. And all that happens because I'm able to do my job more completely now. So that's something I want to say. We applied, we're getting recognition nationally now because Magnet Schools of America have recognized us as a school of excellence. That happens because I can take the time to think about and communicate to them what we're doing and what I see here happening on campus. I appreciate it.
Next slide. All right, so I mean, fully staffed school supports academic success, and we can show it through our California dashboard. So if you see our growth in ELA, we were in orange, and now we're in yellow. In English learner, we were in orange, and now we are in blue. Mathematics, we were in red for a long, long time, and we made some major gains, and we are in yellow in math. And you can see how 6th grade we gained 17 points, and 7th grade 10 points on scale scores, and 8th grade 20 points. And being fully staffed and having those instructional coaches on campus helped us to create a culture of learning where we do little silly things like Mental Math Monday, where we were all out of classroom people walk around with little candy packets, and kids come to us and they say, hey, what's the mental math problem for the day? We are going to solve it, and we can earn a little candy. And this gives them reason to talk to us, interact with us, and all those barriers where middle school feel awkward with adults, that kind of take care of it. Next slide. And, we tap into everyone's talent, like being fully staffed. We know there are some people who are good at robotics, even though they majored in English or math or science. So usually a middle school would provide, 4 or 5 electives, but these are the electives that are open to all our students. So that gives them another reason to, fully engage on campus, and kids are all hands-on activities, doing things and not fooling around or getting into trouble. So they get college and career readiness. So if our kids are dancing and singing in front, and then there are my stage crew kids who are, taking care of sound and lights, and other kids are filming the show and selling the DVDs. And so all that just takes away from negativity to positivity, and kids enjoy our school. Next slide, please. And we also talk about staff retention. The only time when any teacher leave our school is when they're retiring. And otherwise, they're here, as our data show. I just picked up one of, it's not from this year, but the last year, because we couldn't see this year's data yet. So I enjoy teaching at this school. It's 92% said yes to 82% district average. And I have sufficient autonomy on my, what we teach, 100% for Pacoima and 86%. So you see, like, teachers enjoy being here. And I have my dean here who started in 6th grade and just left for high school and college and came back and is here. And I have many teachers like this who are from the community.
Hi guys, my name is Manuel Arredondo. I'm the dean here at Pacoima, and yeah, I've been here. I like to say 40 years. It sounds silly because I was a student here when it was Pacoima Junior High School. The magnet was already here, and I don't know if you guys remember the actress Christina Applegate. She's a year younger than me, so we were students together here at this school. So it's always been a diverse school, which is awesome. And then later on in life, I became a TA when it was still a junior high. And then I became a 6th grade teacher, and then after that I became dean of discipline here at school. And we are a fully staffed school, and that makes a big difference because we like working here. We have other colleagues that have been here as much as I have been as well, with the same history. As they live in the community, they go to school, they come back. And we just enjoy being here. We work together, we communicate together. We believe that we do everything for our students. It's an amazing school. And me as dean, I believe that discipline with dignity is very important. That takes you a long way with building a relationship with the students. The mean dean doesn't always work. You find out that the hard way, but you have to connect with the kids and the parents as well. And one of the things I do as dean is I have a club called Stay Out of the Dean's Office Club, where I select 8 to 12 or 15 kids, students that, had a rough time in 7th grade. So I bring them in along with my school climate advocate. And, another staff that helps us a lot, he keeps the kids busy during lunch with all the sports activities. So keeping the kids busy during break and lunch is amazing, especially lunch. That keeps them out of trouble. And again, fully staffed school. But as my club, Staying Out of the Dean's Office Club, we bring them in, we motivate them in the beginning of the year to follow the school rules. We counsel them to behave better and give them the goal of graduating on stage. One thing I do is we play loteria with them, which is Mexican bingo. I bring them in. They love the chips, they love the sodas, the cookies, the treats that we give them. But mainly we get together, we discuss how we're doing, how's your mom, how's this, how's that, how can we support you, And, honestly, they do behave better in 8th grade than they do in 7th grade. A lot of times, maybe they don't get to graduate on stage. Maybe 1 or 2 don't get to graduate from my group, But they do behave better being in this club, because we work together. But just want to share that with you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. And also for our school experience survey with the parents, so I always get at least a group of 35 to 40 parents for coffee with the principal. And we, on the first meeting, we bond together. I ask them to be there for rest of the months, and we stay together. And, this year, I know district pushed a lot for school experience survey by parents. But if you look at it in 22-23, 43% was district average, LAUSD middle school average, and Pacoima Middle School had 74% parent return of school experience survey. And 48% in 23-24, we were at 85%. This year, I don't know what's the LAUSD middle school average is, but we were at 91%. So we talk to our parents nonstop. And again, from person who stands at the front gate, office techs, everyone, we get together and we tap on what's their talent is to reach out to our parents. And we use this data. We use it for our WASC and all other reports that we write. Mm-hmm. So it's meaningful to us to hear what our parents have to say. Next slide, please.
Oh, that's the one.
Okay, so we used to call the hidden gem of the valley, and I guess we are not that hidden anymore. We are getting a lot of attention lately. So Ms. Green talked about Magnet Schools of America. We because we had time last 2 years, we started writing these reports, and for 2 years in a row, we got a School of Distinction Award, and this year we got School of Excellence Award. My AP Miss Han, who is my right-hand side, she and we were recognized by Khan Fellowship. We took at least 3-4 trips to New York where we were provided professional development. And again, we could do that because I had strong team here who would take care of school. With the help of board member Kelly Gomez and 3 people, we were the winner of $800,000 CNRC grant, and we created this beautiful living yard on our campus, and we removed a lot of blacktop. And that was one of the things that, when Mr. Chait was in our district, was my pet peeve. And board member Gomez, we talked about it, like the kids we are next to 5 freeway, and it was hot, and then we had more blacktop. So we cleared a lot of blacktop and planted up more than 100 trees on campus. So that was happening, and we were also identified by Strategic Data and Evaluation Branch as outlier school this year. 2 years in a row, we are top LAUSD middle school reading champions. So a lot of good things are happening, and I think it is a result of everything that district and we're doing together. So earlier I was talking, Mr. Chase was talking about GRID program. Yeah, we have GRID program on our campus, and it helps us a lot. The social SEL program, Second Step, that's helping us. So all these things are coming together where we are getting better at what we are doing with the support we're getting from everyone. And that's it for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think from both presentations, saw a lot of relationship focus and joyful experiences for students, and it really shone through in your photos especially. I wanted to give you kudos. I don't know if this was shared on the screen, but it's in the handout. Here it comes up. You mentioned having a super high rate of parents responding to your school experience survey. That's amazing. And you had a 5% increase in parents feeling like their students were safe on campus. That's huge. We're not seeing that growth across the district, so congrats for that jump, as well as students themselves saying they feel safe on campus with a 6% jump. So kudos for all of the great data, but particularly around the climate and culture that we're celebrating today. And I see Bill Johnson in the audience. I don't know if you know what the middle school participation rate was this year. We got the numbers because the data team went a little further, but you all have a really great number, and if Bill has it, we'll take it, but if not, for parents participating in the school experience survey. 50% across the district. They're double checking. Much lower than Pacoima's numbers consistently for the last several years.
Yeah.
Middle school parents is 50%, yep, and Pacoima has nearly doubled that. Not quite 100, but very, very close to it, which is pretty rare for middle school. So kudos on all of the parent engagement. I'll pause and see if my colleagues have questions before I ask maybe one more of my own. Ms. Henny Newbill or from the team? Go for it.
Well, thank you for sharing your hidden gem with all of us. Wanted to ask, I know the concept was fully staffed, and in the time that you've been there, have there been a time when you're not fully staffed and you can see the difference, obviously, in the scores here, but what would you say was a takeaway in the difference of being fully staffed and not being fully staffed?
I mean, when we are fully staffed, the students feel helped. They get all the resources. The parents get the response that they needed on a timely basis. Like when we have all the counselors, we divide up our counselors. You take care of these many kids and let's reach out to the parents and all that. So when you are not like that, issues get postponed, and then that's when parents are upset, and you get a lot more calls from parents, from students, and dissatisfied clients all over. And yeah, like the data show, academically and kids feeling safe on campus, you can see that how it's changing when you're fully staffed versus when you're not. People are stretched thin and irritated, and you don't see that joy and wellness on campus.
Got it, thank you. And to stay out of the dean's office, I like the club, former dean. Wanted to ask, as we have implemented our phone policy, what have you seen different on your campus since you've implemented the policy?
Well, yeah, we've had a lot less drama, like between students, like less cyberbullying overall. The kids are seem more focused overall. I don't see kids walking around with their phones, so that has helped us a lot, especially with the interaction of cyberbullying with each other during school time, or even from home.
And if I can have just from a child development point of view, I'm seeing the sixth graders are playing hide and seek with each other. That kids are talking to each other, and they're playing games, and they're playing Uno. They're bringing games from home to play. They're interacting in a way that's so healthy. It just makes my heart sing.
Yeah, and they're making stress balls, and they're participating. Before, they would put on their headphones and say like, okay, leave us alone.
Got it. That's amazing. What actual implementation did you guys use? Pouches, honor system? What did you guys use as you implemented the phone policy?
We're using pouches.
Okay, and they're in the morning, or do they keep them? How do you monitor your phone pouch?
On the gate. So we have people on the gate as the kids come in, we welcome them, and the kids know they put it in a pouch and they lock it. And when they leave, they open it.
Got it. And then my favorite question is the restroom policy, because we know this is ongoing. How is that functioning at your school site?
So just as Dr. Meza said that, we don't open our bathrooms till we have someone on the door. So one thing, I don't know if this could be done or not. So we have girls' restroom, there are stalls, we can supervise that. Boys' side, we have urinals. And because of that, my staff can go in, and I'm trying to figure it out. Is there a way to remove urinals so that they can have only stalls? We have enough bathrooms. But other than that, the kids line up. And I'm thinking of getting that online safety pass so that, kids don't keep on repeatedly going to the bathroom again and again. So if there is something where we can improve is bathrooms, boys' bathrooms. But we put someone on the door, so we let them 4 or 5 kids at a time. They come out, and the next group goes in.
And that's during the passing or lunch. What's during class?
During lunch, yes. And during class time, the first 10 minutes and last 10 minutes, we close the doors because we want kids to be in their classes. But in between, if there's an emergency, we leave one bathroom open with someone supervising it.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Get their thoughts from my colleagues? Ms. Street? Sure.
No questions, but just kudos to Pacoima Middle. Again, definitely not a hidden gem of the Valley anymore. An amazing school, just a hub for the community. I've had the pleasure of working with the school in one capacity or another for going on 10 years now, and seeing the amazing leadership, particularly under Principal Garcha, and the change in culture. Sometimes when I deal with schools or I work with schools and they say, you know what, we can't change the culture. It's so incredibly hard to change the mindset of the adults. If I could send them somewhere on a field trip, I would send them to Pacoima. Because the changes that we've seen from 15, 16, I won't belabor some of the suspension data from back then. I think Simmer and the team probably remember. We've come such a long way. And again, I attribute that obviously not just to Simmer, but to the entire school team and the community. So kudos to you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to both school teams. I love that both of you mentioned a lot of your staff is from the community. And so I would just say, we're always hiring at LAUSD, lausd.org. Please, if you are looking for something or know someone who's looking for something, if you care about kids, we would love to have a place for you in our schools. So just thank you both for your leadership and the great data that your school is showing. Thank you for sharing your strategies. We're trying to scale up some of these gems, and I think staffing is a huge component of that. And when you have a place where people really want to come and stay, as evidenced by your retention data, that's amazing. And we really want to be able to make every school just like that for every staff member, every student, every family. So just kudos to both of you. Much appreciation. Keep it up next year, and maybe we'll see the numbers hit 100% someday. You're getting very, very close. Thank you both. Thank you, Pacoima. Thank you, Orchard.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
So we'll take just a couple minutes with our committee for our last agenda item, which is our recommendations. And as I mentioned, our community partners couldn't be with us today, and a couple other other board member as well. But there's a handout both at the door for folks and available online entitled LA Unified Board District of Ed 24-25 School Safety and Climate Committee Recommendations. So Mr. Chait and team were talking a little bit about these, but we really want to synthesize the last 5 sessions, and at the next board meeting, we always have a chance to share committee reports. We'll share a finalized version of this. But essentially, what has come out over the last 5, and we'll think about what's coming up from today, in addition to having fully staffed campuses, are these big 5 bullet points. So the top of the document just says the purpose of the meeting, when we met. The first recommendation is really about that school experience survey. I know the team is going to be doing some revisions this year for the upcoming school experience survey, and I'm seeing some nods from folks in the audience. So making it really clear, strong, and transparent. Working with students and families to make sure the language is clear for them. I remember they used to be really, really long, and then they got a little shorter, and then we want some more information. So I know it's a big endeavor, but just talking with folks about how we can beef up some of the safety questions is the first recommendation. The second one is really about the parent training offered by the Systems of Support Advisors. There were a couple of thoughts on how we can carry some of these strategies home, and that role being crucial in that translation of school to home around school climate. The third recommendation was about collaborative efforts, including increasing safe passage. We have some explicit requests from our grid partners when they presented last fall, some desire to grow outreach, and some more partnerships at more schools. I think a theme is always more, given that we're having less in terms of dollars. But that was a third recommendation. A fourth on the back side is about student engagement during what we wrote here was unstructured time, but you could also think about non-instructional time, so during lunch and nutrition or passing periods. And then the last one, thinking about resource allocation based on school needs, not just norm tables or enrollment. So thinking about other data points we might use when we're staffing. So I know this is a lot, and we are at a half committee today, but what I'd like to invite, maybe even public comment or folks who are watching online, these will be available on the BOE website. The next board meeting, I believe, is June 3rd, that we will share some of these recommendations, or June 17th. So if you have thoughts on these recommendations, would love to hear things we should add. Some of the committee members who are absent have shared back some ideas, so we'll make some recommendations. But again, these have come from the various presentations, and we'll tighten up the language and keep working with the district operations and school mental health to make sure that the good themes that rise to the top during these meetings actually get implemented and supported in next school year. So I'll pause to see if there are any thoughts on these recommendations, or I'll invite follow-up before the June 3rd board meeting. But I'll pause for a moment there and see. Ms. Newbill or Ms. Marquez, any thoughts? And I know that's a lot, so you can also take this and synthesize it. And like I said, the committee members who are not here have sent in some email recommendations and are also scheduling some time to talk with our office. You have any thoughts? Yeah, go for it.
Just so, with these recommendations that are here, we'll present these on the 3rd and the 17th. Will they be additions to this, or would this just be synthesized and truncated in some way?
Yeah, I think orally I'll present pretty short, but then pass this around and include it in materials with the full language. And yes, additions are welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is to our public as well. Additions are welcome. Even my team, I think we might be cleaning up a little bit of this. But really just appreciate the various presentations over the last 5 meetings. Thank you to Mr. McLean and team for always supporting the School Safety and Climate Committee. And hopefully the committee will continue next year. Well, it depends on the board calendar, if I still get to chair it and Ms. Newville gets to join us. But really the goal of this committee is to make sure we're looking at data, we're hearing best practices, and we're changing and improving the experiences for students, families, community members, because LA Unified is a great place to be. Every school is a great place to be, but we know we can make improvements across a variety of areas, school safety and climate being one of them. And so we'll continue to invite the conversation to make those improvements, both through public comment and through various mechanisms like reaching out to our offices. But with that, I think we are wrapping up our last meeting. We'll hear from public comment, and then we'll wish you well on your summer and come back next fall. So with that, we'll pause and turn to public comment. Mr. McLean.
Okay, thank you. We have public comment both in person and remote. Each person gets 2 minutes to share their comments with the committee. I'll call on the folks who are listed here in person, and then we'll call on the folks who had listed themselves as speaking remotely. So Maria Luisa Palma, I see you're out there. Please come on up. You'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. And then after Ms. Palma is Diana Guillen. And I think we have some folks who listed themselves as speaking remotely but happen to be here. Miss Orlinda Marita is also here, I think, in person. So we're going to take all the in-person folks first.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Luisa Palma. Recently, Ms. Carla Griego mentioned that she had a dream that parents and students would fill this auditorium. I share that dream. That's why I come here all the time. I would love to see parents, especially parents from marginalized communities, show up here and gather here and engage with their elected officials, together with parents who have been successful in managing the system, who could share that information that they know. That would be ideal for them to learn the civic process, to know that they have rights under the law. After all, it is those families, their students, that provide the revenue that keeps the lights on and keeps everybody employed in this district. When we had, though, in reality, that's a dream. The reality is that, for example, the Safe Schools Task Force, when the subcommittee asked me to assist them administratively to request comprehensive safety incident data. Let me tell you what happened. I finally, after many months of coming here, talking to everybody over and over again, I finally received last week a 7,000+ page PDF document with over 80 lines of data per sheet. Of course, in my request, I did request Excel data format. And the data, as far as I can tell, still doesn't include many years, especially years before the pandemic, 2017, 18, 19. No information for those years, and other data is also missing. For iStar, all we received were iStar annual reports, again in PDF. So what are average members of the public? What are parents? What are those committee members supposed to do with 7,000 PDF pages? Okay, so what was the intent of the Office of General Counsel? It seems to me that's bad faith. They're creating an obstacle. They're laughing at us. The data is public data, public information, so it's imperative that the board members here require the superintendent to create a systematic method for releasing that information. I'm sure that they're laughing at us thinking, what are these people gonna do with 7,000 pieces of paper? But that is the question. What are we going to do with the 7,000 pieces of paper? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Diana Guillen is here. Ms. Guillen is going to speak in Spanish, so if you'd like to hear what she's saying in English, please put on these translation headsets. Okay, listos.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, subcommittee. My name is Diana Guillen, and I have represented with dignity I've represented parents, and we have obtained more than, we've obtained many signatures. You want to see 500, 600 parents? You will never see that. Why? Because they work, because they're low income, because they don't have the commodities, and sometimes they have 2 or 3 jobs. And therefore, these parents will never be here. But we are the group, and they have given us a trust that we will continue to advocate because we have the information that they probably don't have, and they are trusting us just like the electors have confided in you, so that you can make good decisions. The school climate is something very important. Everything that you say impacts the community. And today, I was aggravated at DLAC by one of the officials. It's a mother. She's a mother, and I don't blame her. I was speaking, was doing public comment, and she pulled the microphone as soon as the 2 minutes were up. Therefore, I said, Mr. Plasencia previously made a comment that any person that made a comment that was outside the quorum rules, what were they going to do? Oh, they were going to turn off the mic, or they were going to remove them from the space. And I respectfully spoke to this committee, but this person's words, Antonio Plasencia, made these parents feel more powerful, in that the board members and DLAC, they wanted them to treat a member of the public this way. And therefore, I don't blame those parents, but what I do say is the power that you have as members to declare certain things makes people to take this as justice in their hands, and so that they can use this to aggravate others. And because we're not thinking like them, we are here, like they said, we can agree to be in disagreement, but we shouldn't be aggressive with each other, because we are here to support these parents that are 500, 6,000 parents, and we need to advocate for them. Thank you.
Arlinda Morita, come on up. Ms. Morita is going to speak in Spanish, so if you'd like to hear what she's saying in English, please put on these translation headsets.
Buenas tardes, soy
Good afternoon, I'm Erlinda Morinta. LAUSD, the board members and parents and community, we are responsible to put in practice safety schools. We have the right to let them know that there are issues that have to do with bullying, firearms, and knives that enter the schools and the community. You should be vigilant and clean people up within the streets. There are drug people, they're urinating, they're doing their things, and the schools at Alvarado and Westlake, there are people that are drugged, and students walk through there. You took the decision to remove school police in a rapid pace, and to return it, you're taking years. During this time, students are dying. At Santa Ana High, a student died. He was stabbed in front of his school. It's not correct for you to play with the life of our students. The police takes time to get there, 5 minutes sometimes 20 minutes because of traffic. We want officials inside the schools, because of personnel that is strong. We want them to save us during these tough times. At my school, my student mentioned that there are 2 schools, Roybal and Downtown Business Magnet. There's a student that separates the fights. He's very strong. He's big. Imagine when that person is sick, and when that person is not there, who will divide fights? Who will stop fights? This is why we need law officials. Ms. Tanya Ortiz, I ask that you think about our students. They die. Therefore, now we are in a problem with the streets because there are drugs, gangs, all this area. Therefore, we are asking the community, we're asking all the people to help us with this issue.
Thank you. Okay, the next folks will be those who signed up to speak remotely. Let's see, we have Elaine Waldman. Elaine Waldman, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Elaine Waldman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Waldman, and I'm a parent of a middle schooler. I would like to share with you a concern that is district-wide about the well-being, both the physical and psychological and cultural well-being of our diverse students. What is happening is that people's identity and culture are being denigrated and people are being harassed. And when I say people, I mean children, middle school children. What is happening is at my child's school, older men are surrounding the school periodically, handing out Bibles and talking to the children. Surrounding, like every 4 feet there's another man. They're insisting that the children adopt their beliefs, and they harass the kid to say, no, I'm of X or Y other religion, not your religion. And they tell them, my daughter said that she overheard some of them giving threatening language that if they don't take the Bible or think like them, they're going to suffer permanently. And this kind of behavior is a pattern in practice. And what is needed is that the leadership and principals need to have a policy that educates and mobilizes the principals about their necessity to warn the students that these are not invited guests on the campus and they do not need to talk to them or take anything. Then they also need to tell these people, these proselytizers who are handing out Bibles, please step away, please leave. Just as the street vendors, for the street vendors, they have to stay 500 feet away from the school. I don't know why proselytizers are allowed to stay on the sidewalk right in front and a perimeter around the school. It's a very hostile environment for our children. Now, I've made contact with the Office of Civil Rights, and one of the staffers is going to go out and check and see if it's happening tomorrow, because it does happen sometimes right before a long weekend. But whatever happens with their investigation and observation, I really hope that everyone can be mobilized in order to create a safe, psychologically and physically safe environment, free of bullying, harassment, and intimidation of grown adults talking to our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Alonzo Warren, I see you're on the line. Alonzo Warren, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Alonzo Warren. I see you're with us, Mr. Warren. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Okay, we will come back to Mr. Warren. Latanya Hull, I see you're on the line. Latanya Hull, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Latanya Hull. Latanya, I see you're with us. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Latanya Hull. Okay, we will come back to you, Ms. Hull. Isabel Gonzalez, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Isabel Gonzalez. Isabel Gonzalez, por favor, oprima este. Oh, you're there.
Soy una madre que pide
I'm a mother
urgentemente
that's
un
urgently
verdadero
asking
cambio
for
que
a real
garantice
change
la
that
seguridad para nuestros
guarantees
hijos,
safety for our
dentro y
students,
fuera de las escuelas,
inside and outside the schools,
para la comunidad de
for the
alrededor de las
community
escuelas.
around the schools, and also for school personnel. We need people that are trained and qualified like school police. Our voices, our rights, and our pleas have been silenced. Mr. Plasencia has placed a zipper in our mouth. Our demands, they don't want to listen to this, and the answer of the Superintendent Carvalho has been the same one year after year. Like a repetitive mom, I will continue working for the safety of our students. We have been discriminated by these people that aren't in agreement to save the safety and the life of our school. The answer of the other board members of the other district is, according to them, they listen to the voice of the community, of the parents, and of the students. But when they go to a school, apparently to listen to them, they take an agenda of not listening. They impose, they force, apparently to save funds to an agenda with safety passage programs. They don't have, and they have funds for LGBTQ visas, and they utilize this, and they cover this up and they use this topic for the special needs student, and that's not true. School finances should raise into incomplete. No more bullying, no more fights, no more stabbings, no more drug sales, no more fentanyl, no more alcohol, no more cigarettes, no more fights within the schools of our students. Return the school finance in total. Thank you.
Jovita Angel, you're signed up to speak remotely, but you are not signed in. I'll mark you as not here. Nicole Peterson, you are online. Nicole Peterson, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Nicole Peterson. Ms. Peterson, I see you are with us. Please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Nicole Peterson.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Please go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm making these comments on behalf of my husband, Carl Peterson. The LAUSD has the highest number of charter schools in the nation. Unfortunately, it often seems these schools are approved without a clear plan for how the district will provide meaningful oversight. This lack of accountability puts students at risk and undermines the principle of putting kids first. A troubling example of this failure occurred during the charter renewal process for Crete Academy. During that hearing, the school's co-founder, Dr. Hattie Mitchell, proudly recounted an incident in which she chose not to notify Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, after observing children living in conditions she described as clearly unsafe. This appears to be a direct violation of California's mandatory reporting laws designed to protect the very students we are all here to serve. Rather than involving trained professionals, Dr. Mitchell claimed that her school could handle the situation internally. Yet, according to the school's own SARC report, Crete Academy employs neither a psychologist nor a social worker. That's a serious gap for any school, but especially one that reports 21.1% of its students are unhoused. How can a school claim to support vulnerable students without the professional resources required to do so safely? Even more alarming is that this incident was not included in the Charter School Division's official recommendation to deny Crete's renewal. Though the board ultimately voted 6-1 to deny the renewal, this critical information was absent from the public record when LACO considered the school's appeal. Given that their role to deny appeal was close, this omission may have affected the outcome. Now that LACO has returned the charter to you for reconsideration, the stakes could not be higher. If LAUSD is serious about protecting student safety and holding charter schools to the same standards as public schools, then you must make sure that this failure to protect vulnerable students is made part of the record for denial. Anything less sends a dangerous message that some schools are above accountability even when children's well-being is at stake. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, we'll return to Alonzo Warren. I see you're on the line. Alonzo Warren, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Alonzo Warren.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Please go ahead.
So my name is Alonzo Warren, and I speak
It
today,
will be easier if you turn
not as
off the
one
device in the
person,
background.
but as the demands of the people. I am with Cadre, a parent-led organization in South LA, where Black and brown families organize to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. We speak today because we remember and we were there. We were there when they labeled our children trouble instead of gifted, when discipline meant exclusion, especially the child was Black, especially if the child was Black. When policies claimed neutrality but delivered targeted harm. We saw classrooms become corridors for incarceration. We remember being shut out when our parents were asking questions but were treated like threats. When our voices were dismissed and our children were silenced or suspended for less. But we also remember organizing. We watched anti-Blackness go unchecked for decades. And white supremacy shaped who was protected and who was punished. We named the school-to-prison pipeline even before they admitted it existed. We called for literacy as a human right. And still, today, you continue. You continue to silence us with false reforms. You continue to criminalize our children's innocence. You continue to suspend Black children at faster rates, longer, and for less. You speak about equality, you speak about equity, but that's just really in practice exclusion. South LA is not the Valley, but our children deserve no less. PBIS/RP is named without any authentic intention to implement it. And we see that not only as neglect, but we see that as an intentional act to ignore. So what does authentic action from LAUSD board look like? It looks like LAUSD not bending to the executive orders attacking discipline policies that address disproportionalities such as PBIS/RP. It looks like fully implementing and basically implementing PBIS in every school, especially in South LA. It looks like holding schools accountable.
Okay, Jovita Angel, I see you're on the line. Jovita Angel, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Jovita Angel.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Jovita, and I am a LAUSD graduate from 2012. So it's been some years, but I've seen some changes in LAUSD in the last 13 years. But in my time working with Cadre, I've also learned about different policies such as PBIS, how it was passed, and even during the years when I was in middle school or high school, I did not see PBIS being implemented in my school, and that has not changed throughout these years. However, I do want to uplift that this committee meetings have been very eye-opening and have given the community the opportunity to understand how PBIS is being implemented across LAUSD. Such as we heard today and the previous meeting, we have heard from various schools showing and presenting on how the PBIS implementation has improved their school climate dramatically, not only for their students, but also for the staff, the families, and the community. And I have hope that this too becomes a reality in our neighborhood in South Los Angeles, a historically Black community. And I believe that it is the implicit bias and the anti-Blackness that is rooted in our society that has made it very hard for students in our community to be humanized and treated with dignity. We too in South LA want a discipline with dignity. We too want a fully staffed school, which are some of the key words that were used in today's meetings. We also want a fully staffed school that knows, that understands, that values and implements PBIS. Many of our parents have shared how when they go to their schools, it's a combination of people running around the school trying to figure out who knows about these PBIS meetings, only to be told 3 weeks later, if not at the end of the year, that they have been having PBIS meetings, but that they're not including parents, or that it's only open to a few parents. That is not how PBIS should be done. Because if it is properly implemented, properly valued, then we would be able to move away from.
Thank you very much for your time. And then we have one more name to read. Just Isabel is the name that's there. Just Isabel. Okay, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this year. We hope you have a great, safe evening and look forward to picking up the conversation next year. We'll see you then. Good night.